I was hoping today we'd get to see the field. I've never been here. I have been here one time. I pulled up when I was recruiting for Colorado State University, and I was told to leave. I said, hey, bud, you got to get out of here. I said, okay. So I've never seen the field, and really anxious to see the atmosphere because I've heard so much about it for all these years.
Well, now you have an all-access pass.
Not yet. We're still in here. Yeah.
So you, through your childhood, have dreamed about this place?
I have. I dreamt a lot about Ohio State, the rivalry game, the Rose Bowl. It seems like every year in the 70s when I was at that age where everybody's watching it. The parade, the game, and then watching Archie Griffin score touchdowns in the Rose Bowl.
Urban, it's hard to believe this is probably Ohio State's first trip
Yeah, it
in
is.
the last 30 years.
Yeah, I was shocked. I remember I was at Ohio State in 1986 and 87, and that was always the target to go to the Rose Bowl. And that was well before the BCS or College Football Playoff. And we came close the one year, and we went to the Cotton Bowl, and then but it was shocking when I looked up at the post in the, we have a Rose Bowl sign up in our facility. I looked up there, and it was hard to believe that we haven't been in so many years.
Coach, good morning. What's it mean to you and your program to play at the Rose Bowl?
It means the world to me, and our staff, because you know the older guys remember the Rose Bowl, and being the premier bowl game in college football with Keith Jackson calling the plays and all the great players. It seemed like USC and Ohio State and UCLA and Washington, and you just would always watch those games. And but I was pleasantly surprised that our players knew about it too. I was really thinking we're going to have to motivate them, and you know maybe guys would sit out, maybe this, maybe that. They'd all be out. But the minute we were in the Rose Bowl, I mean, there was disappointment that we weren't in the playoff, but it quickly shifted to respect to the Rose Bowl.
What have these last few weeks been like for you, knowing that it's kind of the end of the road here?
I wouldn't say it's the end of the road. Yeah, to a certain extent. It's actually been it's been great, and I really am so grateful for Gene Smith, our friendship and support. It's one of my very close friends, and my love for Ohio State, knowing that we did a job well done, and we still have one more to do.
How do you think Dwayne's handled all the things that are kind of crashing on him?
Boy, it's a credit to his mom and dad now. I mean, because the average person, I'm not sure they could handle it the way he's handled it. And you can say, well, he's awful mature. I don't buy that. I buy that's a product of two wonderful parents that are very involved in a person's life, and humility and respect. You know, his respect for his teammates, the humility he has that realize that God gave him great tools, and he's worked real hard. So I credit his mother and father with the way he's handled it.
You ever talk to him about when he was here at 11 years old, just in a quarterback camp? Were you aware of that?
I was aware. I don't really talk to Dwayne much about. I talk to more about, you know, the thing you mentioned before about humility and about, you know, just leading. His leadership skill set has gone from a very average to way above average in the last month and a half, and I'm so proud of that.
What do you think the difference for that has been?
I think Coach Day is as good as I've ever been around. I think Coach Marotti, our support staff around him, you know, he's got and I always encourage that amongst players of that magnitude, have a very small circle of influence and listen to them and make sure the circle of influence doesn't benefit from don't use you. And I think he's done a phenomenal job of that, keeping a very small circle.
Physically and mentally, is he ready for the NFL?
That's a tough question. You know, I think our focus is on this game, and I imagine we'll all sit down. For me to answer that would be unfair to you because I haven't given the amount of thought and research that I'll need to do after this game.
Urban, has it surprised you with how quick he came on the scene
Yes.
with all the passing records and everything?
Yes. Yeah, I actually thought JT's record, when he broke Drew Brees' record, I thought there's no way, and then this guy crushes it, you know, and that's, but that's a product, first of all, of Dwayne, but I also, Ryan Day now, you got to give him, he's really influenced our offense. and especially in the passing game, and has added so many different. I've learned so much football from Coach Day in the last year and a half, how he's enhanced it, and our offensive line has protected him very well for the most part, and he's probably thrown to the best group of receivers in Ohio State history. And so when I talk about the humility that Dwayne has, he understands that more than anyone. And so it does surprise me, but the cast he had to work with, the coach he had to work with, and then obviously it's him. He's really refined his skill set.
You've had some great leaders, JT, Tim, Chris Lee. Where does he compare on leadership?
What a great question. I would say a year ago, not even in the same, it's not fair to Dwayne because he's not that. I would say as we get ready to play the Rose Bowl, he's getting close.
Urban, when you look at the physical aspect of what Dwayne does, kind of more of a throw first, quarterback set the run first guy, do you anticipate that kind of being the model that Ryan Day takes when recruiting and signing quarterbacks?
No, I think he's going to recruit the best quarterback. It's kind of what we've done. You know, if you look at the history from Josh Harris to Alex Smith was a throw first, but was also a good enough athlete, to Chris Leak was a throw first pretty much all the way. Tim Tebow was more of a run dual threat quarterback. Braxton Miller, run dual threat quarterback. JT Barrett, run first dual threat quarterback. Cardell Jones, no. Really, I mean, he scrambled, but we never really had design Q runs. So we've always tried to recruit the best possible player and adapt the offense to him. And I think Ryan, we've talked about this, he's going to recruit the best player possible and adapt the offense and adjust the offense to him, which is kind of what we've always done. But I think we're more equipped with a throwing quarterback now with what Ryan's brought to our offense.
How do you avoid that, this final day, final game, final, you just said it's not the end of the road. What do you mean by that, Coach?
Well, it means I'm 54 years old and I'm going to teach a class and I'm going to be around Ohio State. I'm going to do other things, and my passion is a student athlete, and I can't, other than hoisting trophies, the next best thing is watching a young person come up to me and say that Goldman Sachs just hired me, or that I got a job opportunity at this Brady Taylor, who was never a starter here, tell me that he's got 3 job offers waiting for him because of the internship program we put together. So that's only going to be enhanced.
That's a huge win, is it not?
Other than that's the best win there is. And you know what? That's our job. And I'm glad to see that college football's kind of taken, everyone's doing it now. And you know, people have said, are you upset that everybody's trying to do what we kind of started? No. No.
It's good for the game.
Athletes have been, in my opinion, used for a long time. The programs that are doing this are not being used anymore. They're using the system, which is what this is all about.
You're going to be the assistant AD, but have you thought about maybe going back into broadcasting? Or?
To be honest, I've tried to really just lock in on this game. As my wife has always said, God has a plan, and we'll see what happens. And I know I enjoyed my time when I was doing that, but we'll see down the road.
Coach, in your study or watch of Coach Peterson, what do you see about the program that is making you take this real seriously?
Oh yeah, I've known Coach Peterson for a long time. My 1 year at ESPN, I flew out there and spent 2 days and studied their Boise State, what makes Boise State. And obviously it's an incredible place, but it's also what he did and elevate Boise State, and Coach Harzan's continued it was phenomenal. He's a guy that you always have to make sure you're crossing every T and dotting every I, because if he sees a weakness, he'll expose you. I always tell the story about we're getting ready to play Ohio State for the national championship in '06. It's actually January '07, and it's a few days before our game. They're playing Oklahoma. I'm trying to sleep, and Boise State runs a hook and ladder, and they run a statue for a score. I remember Shelley hit me saying, why don't we do some of this fun stuff? You never do fun stuff like Chris Peterson. I said, okay. So we have to make sure we're on our game.
National media seems to boil this down to a high-powered passing attack versus a high-powered secondary. Is it as simple as that? Or
No. The first thing I'm always going to say for people who cover us is field position, on how you cover kicks, how you execute your punt, and do you follow the plan to win. They're very good in the back end of their defense. We're very good throwing the ball. But I also think they have a running back that rushed for 5,000 yards. If we don't tackle him, it's going to be a bad day for Ohio State. They also have a quarterback that's played 4 years and is an NFL prospect. If you don't contain him, it's going to be a bad day for Ohio State. So it's much, much deeper than that. I am. I think when it all, as I made a comment, it was not a split-second decision. So after we did it, after it's, I think I've done, and Coach Stoops has done what he was the model. He handed it off. Support staff and everybody never lost their jobs. The program is extremely strong, and more than that, you're handing off to a guy that can make it stronger. And so I'm very much at peace about that.
Do you think if Ryan Day were in the picture, it would be tougher for him to walk away?
Yeah, I don't think I could. Because there's too many, the head coach is here, but you also have these other teammates, support staff, and everyone that's made, I'd dare to say one of the best, if not the best, top to bottom program. I'm talking about academically, life after football, on and off the field, behavior, arguably the top program in America.
How much did you talk to Bob about your decision and the handing off and everything?
How much do we talk about it?
How much did you talk to Bob, maybe, Stoops?
Bob, I think that's kind of private, but I'll say we did have, we're very close, and I've made it clear over the years that I have much respect for him. So I listened to him, and we talked quite a bit.
Whose idea was it about the early signing day video? Because it kind of seemed like a kind of social media passing of the torch with...
Oh, the video thing?
Yeah.
Well, we just thought it'd be a good time to showcase our acting skills. Our video guy came up and asked me, and at first I said, I'm not doing that. And then I started thinking, you know what? I said, what do you think? He said, I think it'd be really cool, so we did it.
This is probably pretty well known, but how did you and Ryan first get connected?
Dan Mullen, it's a great fast fact that Dan Mullen, Chip Kelly, and Ryan Day are all from New Hampshire. And I want to say either the same town or close to the same town. Ryan played for Chip Kelly, and Dan Mullen, when he was with me in Florida, came to me and said, I'd like to hire this guy. And, Dan was the offense coordinator. I said, sure. That was my first time I met him. I want to say that was 05.
So how quickly did you, I guess, come to realize that he had a future as a...
Oh, yeah. Well, he only stayed 1 year, and he got hired full-time, I believe. And then I went and spent, a day with the Eagles when Chip was there and Ryan was a quarterback coach, and actually Tim Tebow was there. And I went and sat in meetings, and I walked away, and I took a lot of notes on how he ran the meeting. And I watched him on the field, and obviously it was much different being a quarterback coach at Eagles than a GA at Florida. And I just saw, you could tell right then.
Coach, good morning again. My name is Steve Arcan, and more photography and writing. And our audience are young people, and we use our works to inspire them to stay off of drugs and out of gangs. As a coach, as a mentor, what would you tell young people today? What are the ingredients they need to succeed?
Well, that's probably one I would need a half hour to cover, but I think what I share with my son as well, that everyone has dreams and goals, and if your habits don't reflect those dreams and goals, and this is kind of a Kobe Bryant, I paraphrase a little bit, change your habits if it don't correlate with your dreams and goals. But I go a step further. If it's not that easy to change your habits, change your dreams and goals, and don't lie to yourself. My son wants to be a Major League Baseball player. Well, then why aren't you training harder than everybody else on the team? Some people want to be a doctor, but they got a 2.3 GPA. It's not going to happen for you. So you can say that all you want, change your habits, or be honest with yourself and change your dreams and goals, because it's not going to happen if you're doing some of those things you mentioned.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet.
Why should people watch the Rose Bowl on Tuesday?
Why should the people?
Why should people watch it?
I think everybody watches it because it's the granddaddy of them all. It's the it's a bucket list, much watched game that I think many. I don't know the ratings, yeah, but
This one, why should people? Tradition?
no, sure, absolutely. But tradition's not maybe as important as it was years ago. You have two excellent teams, I believe, both in the top 10. You have two premier quarterbacks. You have two conference champions. That's why they should watch it.
Urban, when you first started at BG, what was your philosophy on how involved the head coach should be in calling plays in the offense, and how did that evolve throughout your career?
Yeah, I think I always have used the word game manager, and so I've called. There's been games where I called 60% of the plays. There have been games that I've called 5%. It's just my belief that sometimes if you're the play, and Ryan and I've talked about this, if you're the full-time play caller, that's not a job that you show up on Saturdays and call. You got to sit in 8-10 hour meetings a day to do that. I wasn't willing to do that. I was going to be in charge of punt and kickoff, and I want my hands on the defense. And so I think it's a slippery slope where you're the play caller. Do the defensive players really know you? And I always say, do you know them? And I mean, do you actually physically touch the players, hug them up? And that was my way of coaching special teams. Because I wanted the same relationship with Pete Werner as I had with Paris Campbell. And if you're a play caller, you have to be very careful about that. So we've had many conversations. I don't think you have many true play callers anymore.
And you were never the primary play caller any of your head coaching staff?
No. I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
You mentioned becoming a teacher at Ohio State. How did that all manifest? How did you decide to be a professor once you got
Well, we teach a class every fall, and that's been going on for years and years and years. Really enjoyed that. It's a little difficult sometimes during the fall. And this Fisher School of Business, we were very close. They've helped us recruit many great players over the years. And I was approached. A guy came up to me, Charles Buchanan, and said, can I talk to you about co-teaching a class with me? And 2 years ago, they started a leadership initiative in the Fisher School of Business. And I thought about it. I talked to Shelley about it. I talked to Gene about it. Was a no-brainer if I could do it. And grateful that I can. Well, one of the issues I'm going to have is not, when I did other things outside of coaching, you start to feel like you're not making an impact, you're not helping. And this is an opportunity to, especially you don't want to be in a 600-person class if you don't have a relationship with the students. And so I think this is going to be good.
It seems two players like Thomas, you said that they really want to win this one for you. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's media putting microphones in players' mouths. I think they're going to win, as we've all said all along, for the brotherhood. For why does a fifth-year senior come back for the brotherhood? Why does a team go on the road and when you're down by 2 scores, they come back and win that game? It's not for a coach. It's for the brotherhood, and that's why they're going to play well, I think.
Coach, you mentioned Jake Browning and Miles Gaskin. Are there other Husky players that you're taking note of by name, or do you see them more as a unit?
Yeah, I don't usually, just because I know those two by name because they're so well. I know the middle linebacker is the leading tackler in the Pac-12. Actually met him at Disney, and great football player. There are 2 inside defensive tackles. There are 2 gap players. I don't know them by name, but I know them on film, and they're as good as we faced. And their secondary has all 4 guys that are NFL prospects. And so I'd probably say you got the running back, quarterback, you got the offense line is very good, and then the back end of their defense is not good, they're great.
Coach, you talked about the relationship, like the big classroom and having that relationship with players. You're going to also miss out on that relationship with your coaching staff. You've had a lot of assistants throughout the years. Can you talk about missing out on hanging out with coaches?
Yeah, that's a big part of it as well, and I've been very fortunate. If you look over the years, that we have a bunch of head coaches bouncing around out there and not doing good, doing great. And I'll keep those relationships. And I'm planning on being around and assisting Ryan any way I can.
couple of your players that seem really tough on you, really bad player for the football players, staying at Ohio State. How tough is it, do you think it's going to be to not walk into special teams and say, hey, maybe
Well, it's not going to be tough at all. I know the boundaries, and I know that we all are here for one reason. That's to make Coach Day and the football program successful. And I look forward to that.
What will the process be to determine what your role actually be?
Just under 10 minutes remaining in Ohio State Media Day. 10 minutes
Sorry,
remaining.
have you outlined exactly what your specific
No.
job responsibilities will be?
No, win the Rose Bowl and make sure our players are ready to go.
Right. Do you have a timeline for when you'll figure that stuff out?
That's up to Gene, and I'm sure after the bowl game.
Coach, can you talk about what you've seen with the safety room overall this year, how you've seen them progress moving into the Rose Bowl?
Our safeties?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had an up and down year. Some new players that have really improved throughout the year. That was really tough early on. We had some injuries. We had a targeting penalty at one point. We had a young player like Brendan White really was not ready early on and made strides. And so that was a room that is playing much better now than they did early in the year. And I look at the talent out there. You got Josh Proctor, Isaiah Pryor, Brendan White, Jordan Fuller, Sean Wade now. Those are all 5 guys that have a future in football if they keep improving. So the future's bright.
Mentioned earlier just about growing up in the 70s and what this game meant to college football and the fans and kids everywhere. And then mentioning you thought you might have to get your guys live a little history lesson because it's just not quite like it was. You take all that and you look at the people saying this playoff needs to be expanded, it needs to go to 8 teams. You don't know what that means for the Rose Bowl. As it already just feels like it's taking a step back. Is that how do you factor that into the whole debate about?
I'm worried about that. That's we've been on the outside looking in. We won our conference the last 2 years and we didn't make it in. Devastating. But fortunately, our guys took the bowl games very serious. We went to the Fiesta Bowl and played a very good Notre Dame team and won. And we had an excellent team. 2015, 16 we made it, didn't play well in the playoff. 17 I thought we were in, and we went and played a very good USC team and beat them. And now we didn't make it in, and we're going out to the Rose Bowl. So we've done a pretty good job with it. But when I start hearing expanding playoffs, the one thing that I just don't hear enough, and I will be and always will be a student-athlete advocate, what does it mean for them? We don't care about the money for the conferences. When I hear that, I get a little upset. When I hear about, well, television, this, and we don't, what about Draymond Jones? Can his body take another 2 games? Do you have to increase it to a 14-game schedule or whatever, 15, 16? And with the current model, you just can't. In my opinion, I don't think you can do that.
When you're already playing 14, from your experience in early,
I'm sorry?
Well, you're already playing, you'll play 14 on the next day.
We played 15 in 2014.
What's the difference for the players from your experience in seeing a season that ends at 12 or 13 versus 14 or 15?
Well, the difference is when you start getting to that level, you're playing, sledgehammers each week. And the wear and tear on bodies, injuries, you just start seeing, you saw it a couple of times yesterday. There's some teams playing without players, and all of a sudden that guy gets hurt, and you're moving a guy that was an outside backer into inside backer. That might sound like it's insignificant, but, it's just, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying just student athlete needs to be the #1 conversation, and then all the other stuff.
There's a court case right now that could potentially lift the limits on the amount of money players can receive for constant attendance. Do you see it ever evolving to a place where players should benefit financially from some of these big-time games?
I think something's happening down the road. I haven't studied it enough, but I just don't know enough about it right now.